Jake stood at the edge of the shimmering forest, absorbing the kaleidoscope of colors that defined the alien world of Xantari Prime. The air was thick with the scent of phosphorescent flora that glowed under the twin suns, casting an otherworldly light over everything. His heart raced with anticipation. As a human explorer, he had traversed countless unknown territories, but none could match the allure of this vibrant realm. The native species here was not just a curiosity. They were a phenomenon. The Xantari were beings of bioluminescence, with skin that radiated hues repainted by their emotions. Jake had researched them thoroughly, yet reading about their culture was one thing. Experiencing it firsthand would be drastically different. As he ventured deeper into the forest, the atmosphere grew electric, charged with energy and laughter. A group of Xantari danced nearby, their bodies pulsing with light and rhythm to the resonating sounds of alien instruments. Jake observed, captivated, until a figure broke from the crowd, a girl who stood out even among the luminescent beings. Her name was Kalira. Kalira was mesmerizing, her skin reflecting blues and purples that shifted with every move. The glow orb situated just between her waist, casting a gentle luminescent glow. It was hard to describe what fascinated Jake most, the allure of her beauty or the mystery of the orb itself. The lore surrounding the orb was both revered and feared. Only those who were highly trusted could even think of touching it. As she caught his gaze, an enigmatic smile danced across her lips. With a graceful stride, she approached him, causing Jake's heart to skip a beat. "You must be the human everyone's been talking about," she teased, her voice melodic and playful. "I guess I am," Jake replied, trying to mask his nervousness with bravado. "And you must be Kalira, the focal point of many a conversation." She laughed lightly, the warmth of her voice wrapping around him like a gentle embrace. "Be careful, Jake. The glow orb between she leaned in, lowering her voice. "Hips is not something to be trifled with." Jake raised his eyebrows, intrigued. "Oh, and why is that?" "Touching it is sacred," she said, a twinkle in her eye. "It symbolizes a deep bond between our people, a connection that transcends the physical realm." His curiosity piqued. He moved slightly closer, glancing at the vibrant orb. "And what happens if I were to?" "Don't," Kalira interrupted, though a mischievous smile remained. "You're adventurous, but trust me, some things are better left untouched." Jake chuckled nervously. "Understood. I value my limbs too much to risk it." The banter continued as they got to know each other, the lines between cultures blurring. Kalira took him under her wing, showing him the wonders of her world. They explored colorful markets, mesmerizing sports that showcased their athletic prowess, and engaged in conversations that blended learning with teasing. But amidst the laughter and playfulness, unfamiliar feelings began to bloom in Jake's chest. There was something magnetic about Kalira, an energy that drew him in and made him want to know her, truly know her. As the suns began to set, painting the sky in muted oranges and dense purples, Jake found himself standing next to Kalira under a massive, ancient tree that seemed to breathe with life. She turned to him, her face illuminated by the fading light, and for a moment, the teasing gave way to something deeper. "Jake," she said softly, "if you ever wish to touch the orb, you should understand the implications." He nodded, knowing that her words were wrapped in truth. "I promise to honor that, Kalira. This is also new to me." "Good," she replied, flashing a grin that sent a rush of warmth through him. "Let's continue to explore this journey together." As they stood side by side, the flicker of distant stars began to light the night sky. Jake couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead, both in this extraordinary world and in the strange bond growing between him and Kalira. Beneath the surface of playful teasing, something profound seemed to stir. The vibrant days on Xantari Prime turned into an exhilarating whirlwind for Jake. Each moment was suffused with laughter, learning, and a lingering tension that neither he nor Kalira dared to address outright. Their interactions danced between playful teasing and deep conversations as they found comfort in each other's company. Jake marveled at the Xantari culture, their open expressions of emotion, their exquisite art, and their mastery of the environment around them. Kalira became his guide, her luminous skin flickering with excitement as she introduced him to her people's way of life. The alien festival lights illuminated nights filled with shared stories and joy, But one thing was always present, the glow orb between her hips, an enigma that unnerved and attracted him. One evening, as the two explored a bustling marketplace, Jake watched in awe as Kalira demonstrated a traditional Xantari craft. Her hands moved gracefully, weaving bioluminescent strands into intricate patterns. She turned to him, radiant with pride. "You see, Jake, our art reflects our essence. Each piece tells a story of who we are. Can you show me how?" he asked, feeling a rush of determination. Kalira's laughter rang out, lighting up her face. "You want to learn? You need to connect with the essence first. It's not as simple as it looks." He grinned, accepting the challenge. "I'm all in. Show me what you've got, Kalira." As they worked side by side, Jake noticed how Kalira's glow pulsed in rhythm to her laughter and movements. Their hands brushed against each other often, the electricity between them undeniable. Each touch sent shivers down his spine, and he found himself stealing glances at the glow orb, which seemed to shimmer more brightly with their interactions. That evening, as they lay on the grass, engrossed in stargazing, Jake spoke aloud what had been on his mind. "Kalira, what's it truly like to touch the orb?" Her expression shifted, the playful glint in her eyes fading. "It's a very intimate act for my people," she said slowly, weighing her words. "It's more than just a physical connection, Jake. It represents a promise, a bond for life." Jake felt a knot in his stomach. "You sound unsure. Is it something you want?" Her gaze dropped to the ground, the soft glow of her skin dimming. "It's not just about want. It's about the weight of our customs. If we were to cross that boundary, I would have to face the expectations of my people. They wouldn't understand how deep this bond is. Not yet." He shifted closer, trying to comfort her. "But we can create our own understanding, right? Why should we let tradition dictate what we feel?" A flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. "You're brave, Jake. But bravery can have consequences, especially in matters of the heart." Jake grappled with her words, feeling the tension between them thicken. Almost as if the universe itself sensed their struggle, they were suddenly interrupted by a loud commotion nearby. Curious, they approached the noise, finding a group of Xantari gathered in a circle. In their midst stood Zarek, a towering figure with fierce features, known for his strength and fierceness. A palpable energy surrounded him, drawing eyes and whispers. "Humans and Xantari can never be one." Zarek thundered, his voice booming. "This alliance is a wager we cannot afford. They do not understand our ways." Kalira stiffened beside Jake. "Zarek has always opposed any union between our peoples," she whispered, anxiety flashing across her face. Jake felt an unwelcomed weight settle in his stomach, sensing how Zarek's words rippled through the crowd, igniting murmurs of disapproval and resentment. The tension escalated, and he could feel the anger radiating from the Xantari around him. Was he truly disrupting their customs just by being there? In that moment, Kalira glanced at Jake, and he saw a flicker of determination. "We can't let this divide us," she whispered, clutching his hand. "We must show them that understanding can coexist with our traditions." Taking a deep breath, Kalira stepped forward, raising her voice above the crowd. "Zarek, you speak of our customs as if they're chains that bind us. But love knows no boundaries." A collective gasp shot through the crowd. Jake's heart raced as he felt the stakes climbing higher. Kalira's stance radiated power and vulnerability all at once. But Zarek stepped forward, his eyes locking onto hers. "And what do you understand of love? It is a mere distraction, a dangerous folly. You defy tradition for a human, and it will bring ruin." The crowd murmured again, and Jake sensed the growing hostility. He squeezed Kalira's hand, feeling her tremble slightly. "Kalira, we should step back," he urged. But her resolve shone like the orb she bore. "No, Jake. If we want them to accept us, we must stand together." The atmosphere crackled with tension, the crowd's eyes shifting between Kalira and Zarek. As the confrontation loomed above them, Jake realized their budding bond faced more challenges than he had ever anticipated. The moment hung in the air, thick with uncertainty as Kalira's declaration echoed through the gathering. All eyes were focused on her, a mixture of outrage and intrigue coursing through the crowd. Jake felt like a spectator in a battle he hadn't fully prepared for, the stakes suddenly higher than he could have anticipated. Zarek's glare intensified. "You think your words carry weight, Kalira?" This human doesn't belong here. His kind brings nothing but chaos. Kalira stepped forward defiantly, her glow pulsating with vigor. This human understands me more than many of our own. Love is not chaos. It is the bridge that can unite us. Jake admired her courage, but fear gripped at his heart. He had not intended to become the symbol of such division. Yet, as the tension continued to rise, he felt compelled to support her. Stepping beside Kalira, he took a deep breath, rallying his thoughts. Zarek, you must listen. I may be a human, but I'm here to learn, to connect with your people. Kalira and I share something real. A low rumble of dissent cascaded through the crowd, but Kalira's unwavering gaze steadied him. We must evolve, Zarek. Isolation will only lead to our downfall. Embracing our differences might just save us. Zarek laughed, the sound harsh. You think this bond will last? You've only known each other a short while. Touching the glow orb is not a gamble you should take lightly. Jake's heart raced at the mention of the orb. He felt an irresistible draw toward it, a magnetic pull that had only grown with each moment spent with Kalira. As fear tried to seep in, curiosity surged anew. He yearned to understand her, to connect with her in every way. Before he fully registered the thought, the words escaped him. What if I want to touch the orb? Silence fell over the crowd, tension sparking like static electricity. Kalira's eyes widened in shock, hesitation flickering across her face. Jake, no, she exclaimed, urgency lacing her voice. Ignoring her warning, he moved closer to her, drawn to the radiant orb that shared a space between them. It shimmered, its glow intensifying as he reached out. I want to understand you fully, Kalira. I need to feel that connection. The atmosphere shifted, an unspoken agreement hung in the air. As his fingers brushed against the surface of the orb, a pulse coursed through his hand, and he was enveloped in a cascade of light. Time seemed to warp. The world around him faded into a blur as warmth enveloped him from the confines of the orb. It was exhilarating and terrifying. In that moment, a deep connection blossomed between them, unlike anything Jake had ever experienced. It felt as if their very essences were intertwining, their emotions flowing into one another. He felt Kalira's hopes, fears, the weight of her customs, and her fierce desire to break free from the limitations imposed by tradition. But as the intimate energy surged, Kalira's expression morphed from one of awe to alarm. Jake, she cried, panic lacing her voice, but it was too late. A forceful rippling shockwave erupted from the orb, sending them both stumbling back, creating a barrier between them and the shocked onlookers. Kalira's light flickered uncertainty as Zarek stepped forward, rage and disbelief mingling in his eyes. Foolish human, Zarek shouted, glaring at Jake. You've crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Kalira moved closer, a desperate look on her face. Jake, what have you done? Jake's heart raced. The intensity of their connection was overwhelming. A mix of exhilaration and fear coursed through him. I didn't mean to disrupt anything. I thought. You thought. Zarek cut in, his voice rising. You've not only violated our customs, you've endangered our unity. The consequences will ripple through our people. You must leave. A wave of disbelief coursed through Jake. He hadn't truly grasped the enormity of his act until that moment. Kalira took a step towards him, torn between her feelings for Jake and the duty towards her people. Jake, I need to handle this, she said, her voice trembling. Before he could respond, the crowd surged, whispers evolving into accusations. He's a threat. He's dishonored our customs. He's not one of us. The raw energy in the air shifted, becoming hostile. Their bond, which had felt like a beacon of hope moments before, now seemed like a powder keg ready to explode. Don't do this, Kalira, Jake urged, his voice filled with urgency. We can work through this. Your people need to see what we share. But her gaze was distant, her own people's expectations weighing heavily upon her. You've given them a reason to reject us, Jake. I need to protect what we've built. With that, she turned, moving towards the crowd, each step pulling Jake into a heavier pit of despair. As she faced Zarek, Jake stood frozen, battling the heartache rising within him. I won't let you punish him, Kalira declared, a fire igniting in her eyes. This connection, this bond, represents something new, something beautiful. I refuse to let fear dictate our fate. Zarek's face darkened. Then you must face the consequences of your actions. You've chosen the human over our traditions, and that choice will not go unpunished. The crowd's murmurs turned into murmurs of potential retribution, and Jake felt the distance between him and Kalira grow. He was losing her, slipping away from the realm they had shared. The connection they had felt moments ago flickered unsteadily. As the realization hit him, Jake's determination ignited anew. If he had disrupted the balance, then perhaps he had the power to restore it. He wouldn't give up on Kalira or the bond they shared. In that moment, he set his jaw and took a step forward. "I'll fight for us, Kalira," he shouted, his voice echoing in the charged air. "We can change this. Together." Kalira turned, her vibrant glow entwined with confusion, hope, and fear. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and he felt that familiar connection, the glow of understanding as she searched his expression. But just as swiftly as it manifested, the glimmer of hope could dim. The struggle of cultures, misunderstandings, and a powerful bond woven between them created a storm far beyond anything they'd anticipated. Jake was determined to fight against both external and internal battles arising from this interaction. Together, they would navigate these treacherous waters, no matter the cost. The atmosphere that night was electric, charged with unrest and uncertainty as Jake stood on the precipice of a cultural storm. Kalira's defiance had drawn a line in the sand, and as he looked around, it was clear that the stakes had never been higher. Zarek's fierce demeanor had ignited the crowd's resentment, driving a wedge between Jake and the Zantari people. Murmurs gave way to heated discussions, the air like a fraying wire ready to snap. Though Kalira had stood up for him, he could feel the weight of their expectations pulling her back. "Zarek is right." A voice rang out from the crowd, a Zantari woman stepping forward. Her glowing form radiated doubt. "This human's actions threaten the balance we've maintained for generations." "Exactly," Zarek roared, his voice booming. "His presence sows discord, and now we must decide what to do about it. This is treachery, not just to our customs, but to our very essence." Kalira stepped forward, her expression fierce. "No, this is about evolution. We cannot thrive if we cling to fears from the past. Jake loves me, and I love him. Isn't that worth something?" Jake's heart swelled at her words, but in the eyes of the crowd, he saw only fear and anger. He longed to reach out, to bridge the divide, but he felt acutely aware that he was the outsider who had inadvertently catalyzed this conflict. A murmur passed through the Zantari, and Zarek leaped at the chance to exploit the division. Love is not always enough. We do not have the luxury of such naive dreams. It's time we consider a more permanent solution to the threat he poses. The gravity of his words hung in the air, appalling and heavy, and Jake felt his pulse quicken. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with concern. Zarek stepped closer, towering over him, his presence imposing. "Perhaps exile is too lenient. Perhaps a display of our strength is necessary. A challenge," he said, a cruel smile curling his lips. "A fight to prove your worth and allegiance. If you survive, you may be worthy of our respect. If you fail, it will prove every fear we have is justified." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kalira turned to Jake, her face a mixture of horror and defiance. "You can't accept this. You're not their enemy." A knot of determination formed in Jake's stomach. "I'm not afraid to fight," he replied, standing tall, even against the odds. "If I must prove my worth, I will. But I won't fight for approval. I'll fight for us, for our future, if we can make one." Kalira's eyes met his, filled with a flicker of hope amid the turmoil. "Jake, it shouldn't come to this. I can't bear the thought of you being hurt because of me. I'll handle it." He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. "I'll show them that I'm not just an outsider. I'm here for you, and I'll prove it." Zarek's eyes gleamed with anticipation. "So be it. We fight at dawn, by the Great Stone Circle. Prepare yourself, human. You'll not face merely me, but the weight of all our traditions." The crowd began to disperse, their murmurs echoing in Jake's ears. As Kalira stood beside him, he sensed the ominous weight of uncertainty before them. He wanted to be brave, but the reality of the fight loomed. It was a crucial challenge not just for himself, but for the very essence of his bond with Kalira. "Jake," Kalira said, her voice barely above a whisper, "you don't have to do this." "But I want to," he replied firmly. "Not just for me, but for us. I need to show them that love can transcend what they've always known." The night fell heavily upon them as they made their way to the secluded spot where they first shared moments of innocence. The stars twinkled above, each light a reminder of the many challenges ahead. Kalira rested a hand on his arm, her glow casting a soft light against his skin. "Whatever happens, know that you're not just fighting for approval. You're fighting for a chance to forge something new." Jake nodded, feeling the weight of her words. They exchanged a lingering gaze, knowing that the bond between them would not easily fade. Still, there was uncertainty in the air as they retreated to their respective homes, worry gnawing at the edges of Jake's resolve. The night drudged on, and as dawn approached, Jake prepared himself mentally for the challenge to come. He couldn't afford to be oblivious to the implications this fight held for both his future and Kalira's. When the sun rose and cast its golden rays upon the great stone circle, Jake felt the weight of anticipation in his chest. As he and Kalira approached the clearing, he could see the Zantari gathered, their vibrant forms illuminated under the new light. Kalira squeezed his hand, standing by him as they prepared to face the crowd, no longer as fierce in their conviction, but connected through shared understanding and determination. Zarek stood across from him, his powerful presence looming as the air thickened with tension again. Today had the potential to ignite new paths between their worlds, or destroy the fragile connection they had built. "Let this challenge begin," Zarek called, setting the stage for what lay ahead. In that charged moment, Jake locked eyes with Kalira, his heart racing with both dread and hope. Whatever happened, this moment would define them, for better or for worse. The great stone circle felt alive with anticipation as the Zantari gathered, casting expectant gazes toward the center where Jake and Zarek stood. The air was thick with unspoken tension, the weight of centuries of customs pressing down on both sides. Jake's heart hammered in his chest, but he stood tall, determined to face the challenge ahead. Kalira remained by his side, her luminous skin casting a gentle glow against the rough-hewn stones. He could see the worry etched on her face, and it mirrored the storm brewing within him. "Believe in us," he murmured, squeezing her hand gently. "As I believe in you," she replied softly, her confidence flickering like her light, but it was still there, a precious spark in the looming shadow of doubt. Zarek stepped forward, arms crossed, his fierce countenance brimming with disdain. "You think love can defy tradition?" he challenged, his roar reverberating through the circle. "You think this human can stand against the legacy of our ancestors?" Jake squared his shoulders. "I believe that love can unite us instead of tearing us apart," he shot back, his voice steady. "I'm not here to defy your customs, Zarek. I'm here to show you there's more than one way to exist." The crowd murmured, intrigued yet wary. It was now or never. He had to prove to them that he was not an invader but a bridge between two worlds. Zarek lunged forward with surprising agility, his alien muscles propelling him like a force of nature. Jake barely had time to react, slipping sideways to avoid the full force of the attack. The earth trembled beneath them, a reminder of the power Zarek wielded. Adrenaline surged through Jake's veins. He dodged another blow, heart racing as he used his agility to navigate the makeshift battlefield. Jake knew he couldn't match Zarek's raw power. He had to rely on his wits and the resilience of the bond he shared with Kalira. He took a deep breath, focusing on the connection they had forged. He remembered the moments of laughter, their shared dreams, and the depths of their understanding. Steeling himself, he darted in, intent on landing a glancing blow rather than a full confrontation. Zarek blocked him with an arm, deflecting his strike with ease. "You can't win, human," he roared. "Your existence is already a challenge to our way of life." Jake panted, realizing there was more at stake than his own victory. It was about proving that change could happen through love. "Maybe my presence can show your people another path," he shouted back, defiant and emboldened by Kalira's unwavering faith in him. The audience began to shift. They were witnessing not just a fight, but a transformation. Examples of strength beyond mere physical prowess could be seen, and irony tinged the air as Jake responded not with anger, but with understanding. Zarek charged again, But this time Jake sidestepped, using his momentum against him. He delivered a swift kick to Zarek's midsection, an attempt to unbalance the formidable foe. As Zarek stumbled slightly, Jake capitalized on the moment and shouted, "What's the value in holding on to the past if it casts us into darkness? Love shouldn't produce fear. It should encourage harmony." Whatever message had spread throughout the Xantari, they were beginning to listen, but Zarek was not so easily deterred. He roared in frustration and retaliated with a fierce swipe that knocked Jake off his feet. The ground rushed up to meet him, pain blooming in his shoulder. As he lay there, struggling to gather his breath, Kalira's voice cut through the chaos like a beacon of light. "Jake, remember our connection. Fight for it." Drawing from her encouragement, Jake scrambled back to his feet. The weight of anger and doubt had begun to lift, replaced by the urgency of their bond. He needed to stand not just for himself, but for their love and what it symbolized. With renewed determination, he faced Zarek again. "This doesn't just affect you," Jake called, his voice rising above the clamor. "It affects all of us. We have an opportunity to create a future where our people learn from each other." With that, he launched into a series of deft movements, utilizing his human agility to evade Zarek's strikes while remaining focused on the essence of what they were fighting for. Each dodge, each counter, was a plea through his actions. Please see. It doesn't have to be a battle. It can be a bridge. The tide began to shift in Jake's favor, the energy of the crowd amplifying his strength. As he sidestepped and landed another blow on Zarek, cheers erupted among the Xantari, the energy of hope rippling through them. "Stop!" Zarek gasped, frustration and surprise wrestling in his features. "This shouldn't matter. You're just a human." "But I'm also here for Kalira," Jake replied, his resolve hardening with every word. "I won't stop fighting until you see there's more than one way for our people to prosper." Is this what real strength felt like? Not just the physical, but the kind that sparked change through heart and spirit? In that moment, the answer coalesced in his mind. Zarek growled and lunged again, but Jake was prepared. In a moment of clarity, he focused on their connection, the warm energy they had shared, that pulsing bond that illuminated a path through darkness. He evaded Zarek's strike and, with a burst of determination, propelled himself forward one last time. He didn't tackle Zarek. Instead, he aimed to finish with a display of understanding. He grasped Zarek's shoulder, locking eyes with forceful intensity. "Let's end this," he said firmly. "Join me in a journey of understanding rather than fear. We have so much to gain." Time froze, and the collective breaths of the crowd hung in suspense. Zarek's expression morphed from aggression to uncertainty, the fiery glow of his skin flickering as he processed Jake's words. It was Kalira's voice, soft and determined, that broke through. "Zarek, it's time we choose evolution over fear. We cannot ignore our feelings for the sake of tradition." The crowd murmured, the tension shifting again, but this time toward a collective realization. Jake felt hope unfurl within him, reinforcing their bonds. Zarek's simmering anger began to cool, replaced by a glimmer of introspection. And then, in a moment that felt like eternity, Zarek took a step back, his glow faltering. He released a defeated sigh, his voice low. Perhaps there is something to your words." The crowd murmured, a rising tide of acceptance washing over them as they began to realize the possibilities Jake had awakened within them. Slowly, they stepped back, the hostile energy dissipating, leaving behind a fragile yet promising new beginning. "I can't deny what I feel," Zarek admitted, his tone now softened, though still holding a layer of authority. "But our customs have served us for a long time. I don't know if I'm ready to let go of that." "That's okay," Kalira replied, stepping closer to Zarek. "Change takes time, and we can navigate this together, one step at a time." The atmosphere shifted, burgeoning with the potential for growth as the Xantari began to see their customs not as prison bars, but as frames allowing for different expressions of connection and love. As Jake stood amidst the remnants of the battle, he felt a sense of pride swelling within him, not just for himself, but for what they had accomplished together. This day wouldn't merely define him. It would redefine the relationship between their worlds, standing long after this moment faded. As Kalira moved to his side, her light intertwining with his, hope ignited anew. Their bond was no longer something to be feared. It was a pathway to unity, an opportunity for love to bridge gaps across cultures, paving the way for a shared future. The atmosphere within the Great Stone Circle simmered, with a mixture of relief and cautious optimism. The fight had revealed not only the deep-rooted fears that had long governed the interactions between humans and Xantari, but also the potential for understanding and growth. As the crowd began to disperse, murmurs of hope intertwined with conversations about a future bound by connections rather than traditions. Jake stood beside Kalira, their hands still intertwined, seeking solace in each other's presence. As the initial adrenaline of the challenge faded, he felt an overwhelming gratitude wash over him. "Did we really just do that?" he asked, unable to suppress his smile. Kalira's radiant glow pulsed with joy, her expression radiant. "We did. We turned a moment of conflict into a chance for change. You were incredible, Jake." Before he could respond, Zarek approached, his demeanor transformed. The fierce glare had softened, replaced by a contemplative gaze. "You showed resilience, human. I can't deny that I now see you in a different light. Perhaps you could teach us more about your people." Jake nodded, feeling a rush of warmth at the prospect of bridging their two worlds. "And perhaps I can learn from yours. Together, we could create something remarkable, an alliance that honors both our customs and fosters understanding." Zarek hesitated for a moment, the gravity of the moment weighing upon him. "It will not be easy, but I am open to discussions. We must work through our traditions while adapting to this new reality. Change often comes at a price, but it can lead to growth." Kalira stepped forward, her glow illuminating not just the area, but the potential of the future. "Each of us has something to offer. Together, we can create a new path that honors the past while welcoming what lies ahead." The gathered Xantari nodded gratefully, hope blossoming in their expressions. They began to talk amongst themselves, sketching out ideas of how they could intertwine the human and Xantari cultures into something new. As the sky shifted, casting vibrant hues across the horizon, Jake and Kalira found themselves a telltale distance from the gathering, where the whispers of their world faded into the soft wind. The sun dipped below the horizon, wrapping them in a golden glow, full of promise. "You were amazing out there, Kalira," Jake said softly, his gaze fixed on her. "You stood up for us when it mattered." She smiled, her glow flickering in agreement. "I realized that love is powerful. I had to fight for what we share, not just for us, but for the future we could build." Jake's heart swelled at her words. "We both had to fight. I may have stood against Zarek, but it was your strength that filled me with purpose." Kalira leaned in closer, her warm light surrounding him. "And I never want to lose that connection we found. You helped me see that our worlds can coexist in harmony, not just as mere strangers, but as two families united." In the comfort of the twilight, Kalira gazed into Jake's eyes, and he melted beneath her luminous touch. "What comes next for us?" Jake asked, uncertainty sparking in his voice. She grinned playfully, a glimmer in her eyes. "An adventure, of course. With the possibility of uniting our peoples, we have so much to explore. I want to see your world, meet your friends, and experience your culture just as you have mine." "I'd love that," he replied, a genuine smile breaking through. "You'll see the beauty every bit as much as I've seen yours." As darkness fell and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Jake felt a sense of fulfillment settling within him, outweighing the fears that had once filled his heart. They had opened the door to a new beginning, one where love bridged the gaps between their peoples. Hand in hand, they walked back toward the gathering masses, ready to forge connections that would bring about understanding, not just between themselves, but rippling across civilizations. They were prepared to become advocates for a new era, one that combined the richness of both cultures and showcased the power of love that transcended boundaries. In that moment, under the infinite cluster of stars, the glow orb pulsed gently between Kalira's waist, a beacon of their union, shining bright against the canvas of the universe. Jacob felt hopeful, and their stories would lie a testament that love knew no barriers. With every step, they embraced the unknown together, ready to illuminate a path of acceptance, harmony, and unity.